Good day to you. This is your teacher of geography, Mr. Mulenga. And as you are aware, in our previous meeting, we started looking at the types of farming. We were looking at the types of farming that is practiced in different parts of the world. And we identified to say there are two main types of farming, that is temperate farming and tropical farming. And temperate farming, we made mention to say this is the type of farming that is practiced in temperate regions, whereas tropical farming, this is the type of farming that is practiced in tropical regions. And we started with tropical farming, where we identified shifting cultivation to be one of the types of farming practiced under tropical farming. And we also mentioned of intensive farming. And today, I want us to move a step further by looking at what we call tropical agriculture. And under tropical agriculture, we will specifically focus on plantation farming. We'll focus on plantation farming. Now, let's get straight into today's lesson. What is plantation farming? Now, whenever you hear the term plantation, what should come into your mind is estate. Plantation farming is also known as estate farming. Estate farming. Now, this is the cultivation of tropical raw materials in large estates or plantations, mainly for export. So we are basically looking at the cultivation of, crops which are used as raw materials in plantations and usually exported to other countries. Now, a plantation farm has cash crops grown on it, or you can basically say plantation farming involves growing of cash crops on large pieces of land using modern methods of farming. In our previous meeting, I explained and gave examples of cash crops. Now, cash crops are crops grown for sale. Food crops are crops grown for consumption. So you must be able to know this. Examples of cash crops include maize, rubber, tea, coffee, palm oil, tobacco, cotton, among others. So these are just examples. Maize, rubber, tea, coffee, palm oil, tobacco, cotton, among others. Examples of food crops include maize, beans, sorghum, millet, cassava, vegetables, and others. Now, I want to look at some characteristics of plantation farming. Plantation farming practices what we call monoculture. Now, you must always know to say the word mono means one. So when we say monoculture, we mean the growing of one type of crop. For example, tea, coffee, sugarcane, wheat, or pineapples. So you only have one farm or one piece of land where only one type of crop is grown on a big piece of land. Plantations occupy a large area of land. For instance, hundreds of hectares. So a plantation is usually big in size. Now, plantations are labor intensive, meaning that they need a lot of labor. Hence, accommodation and other facilities for workers are provided on plantations, meaning that workers stay on the farms. Most plantations are financed by, foreign capital, meaning that most of the owners of plantations are foreign nationals. Large amounts of capital is required to meet various costs such as machinery, inputs, and labor, meaning that it is capital intensive. You need to have a lot of money for you to start a plantation farm because it requires a lot of money for you to cater for machinery, inputs, and labor costs. Processing factories are normally located on or near the plantation. So this simply means that, within the same area where the plantation is located, that's where you also have a processing factory. or plant. So when you're growing pineapples, for example, you need to also have a processing factory or a plant that will be making pineapple juice on the same plant or on the same, plantation. So there you have, a portion of land where you're growing your pineapples, for example. Then on the other side, you have a factory where you're making pineapple juice. That's a setup. Now, I want us to look at advantages of plantation farming. Employment opportunities. It creates employment. Just like I said earlier in the characteristics where we said workers live on the farms, so those workers are employed on those plantations. So it is a source of employment. It also generates a large, profit, meaning that large profits are generated due to high yields. Now, when we say high yields, we mean high harvests. It is also easier to manage and focus on one type of crop other than a variety of cash crops. So when you're growing just one type of crop, it's very easy for you to manage it. Unlike you're growing variety of crops which come with different challenges. Products are exported and sold to the world market. So meaning that this promotes what we call foreign exchange. It also leads to development of telecommunication and transport infrastructure. Where you have a plantation farm, you also expect to have very good roads for you to transport your products to the market. So all those are advantages. The other advantage is that it also provides social amenities like schools, health services, and water supply. Remember, we said workers live on plantations, meaning that those workers living on the same plantations need schools, health services, and water supply. So because you have plantations, all these services are going to be provided. Now, let's look at some disadvantages of plantation. Over exploitation of plantation workers. This is one of the disadvantages. Now, these workers who work on plantation farms, I can tell you that the conditions of service are usually poor. They are exploited. They are not paid well. If you go to Sierra Leone, you discover that workers are paid $10 per month. $10 per month. That is a very small amount of money. Exploitation of plantation workers. The other disadvantage is that plantation farming is capital intensive because of the farms are very large. Now, when we say plantation farming is capital intensive, we mean it requires a lot of money. And because it requires a lot of money, not so many people can be able to afford to practice plantation farming, which comes in as a disadvantage. Also, huge losses are experienced if world market prices fall. Remember, most of the plantation products are exported to other countries or to the world market. So when the prices on the world market fall, it means even our local plantation farmers are going to be affected. Profit repatriation. Now, when we say profit repatriation, we mean the profits or the monies that are generated on plantation farms, are usually exported to other countries. So remember, we said plantations are usually owned by, foreign nationals. So when these foreign nationals from other countries are making money in our country using the plantation farms, they take the money outside the country, taking it to their own countries, which comes as a disadvantage to the host country that, where they're practicing plantation from or plantation farming from. So profit repatriation is one of, the disadvantages that come with plantation farming. The other advantage is that there is so much concentration on cash crop farming, which may result in food shortages due to neglect of food crop farming. What this simply means is that plantation farmers usually, focus on growing of cash crops. They don't care about producing food for the nation to provide, national food security. With the plantation farmers, they will produce cotton. Is cotton a food crop? No. They'll produce a lot of cotton, they'll produce a lot of tobacco. Now, these are not food crops. We don't eat tobacco. We don't eat, we don't eat cotton. But this is the area of interest for most of these plantation, farmers. So that comes in as a disadvantage because you may have just shortage of food because the farmers are not producing food. The other advantage that we may look at is that huge tracts of land for crop farming leaves many families landless. So these plantations occupy huge pieces of land, which usually leave so many families homeless. They displace people. Let's get straight into examples of crops grown under plantation farming. Now, this is very, very important for you to understand because most of the examination past paper questions that have seen ask for the crops grown under plantation farming and also their largest producers. Now, coffee is one of the major plantation crops grown, and the world's largest producer of coffee is Brazil. And in Africa, we have Ethiopia, where on the Ethiopian highlands, we have huge coffee plantations. So in the world, the largest coffee producer is Brazil. Then in Africa, we have Ethiopia. So these are the plantations, as you're able to see, the coffee plantations. And this is how coffee looks like. And when it is harvested and allowed to dry, it looks like this, brownish in color. When it is processed, pounded, you're now able to use it for consumption. I'm sure I might just be talking to someone who is, a fan of coffee. Tea. Tea is another, crop that is grown under plantation. Now, the largest producer of tea in the world is China. And in Africa, we have Kenya. So this is how tea plantations look like. And when it is harvested, it looks like this. And now we have your tea in the cup, ready for consumption. The other crop that is grown under plantation is cocoa. Now, the largest producer of cocoa in the world is the Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, followed by Ghana. So these two are the largest producers of coffee in the world and in Africa. 3/4 of the coffee produced by the world comes from these two regions. So here is how a coffee plantation looks like. And when coffee is harvested, it is, visualized, or it looks like this. So these are farmers just from harvesting cocoa, sorry. These are farmers just from harvesting cocoa from the cocoa plantation. And once cocoa is harvested, it is now broken from the pulp. This is what we call a pulp. It is now broken from the pulp, and as you're able to see in this picture, that this is how coffee looks like. And this is how coffee is processed. It is pounded. After it is pounded, then it is ready for for consumption. So this is how coffee looks like. Now let's look at another crop, tobacco. Now, tobacco, The largest producers of tobacco in the world are the Chinese. China is the largest producer of tobacco. And in Africa, Zimbabwe is the largest producer of tobacco. In China, that's why we even have, that's why we even have uh, a lot of chain smokers. They produce a lot of tobacco. Here is how a tobacco plantation looks like. There you go. When tobacco is harvested, it is now processed into a product that is ready for consumption. I'm sure some of these might just be, common pictures that you've been able to see even elsewhere. A Chinese chain smoker harvesting tobacco. So let me give you another crop that is grown under plantation farming, rubber. Now, rubber is a crop that people are not so familiar with. The largest producer in the world is Thailand, and in Africa, Ivory Coast. So here is how a rubber plantation looks like. So these are three crops. These are three crops. So you have your tree of rubber, a rubber tree there, a rubber crop, and on the rubber crop or rubber tree, you discover that you have rubber in liquid form that is pooling in a bucket coming from the stem. So once you cut the stem of a rubber tree, it produces, rubber in liquid form, which pours or which drips into, the buckets. And once the bucket is full, the farmers will be able to harvest and allow this liquid rubber to be turned into, um, usable rubber products. As you're able to see here, this is the end product. Now, we also have palm oil. The largest producer of palm oil in the world is Indonesia, and in Africa, Nigeria. Now, here is how a palm oil plantation looks like. And there you go. That is palm oil ready for harvest. And once it is harvested, it is now, produced into a final end product that is usable. As you're able to see, this is oil, which you can use for various, purposes such as, cooking and the like. The other crop that we can look at is banana. Now, the largest producer of bananas is India in the world, and in Africa, we have Uganda. Here is a banana plantation, as you're able to see, and here is how it looks like, and there is the end product of the banana plantation. The other crop that we can look at is pineapple. Now, the largest producers of pineapples are the Philippines in the world. And in Africa, we have Nigeria. So here is a pineapple plantation. And this is how it looks like, a pineapple plantation, and that's our end product, ready for consumption. Now, sugarcane. The largest producers of sugarcane in the world are the Brazilians. So Brazil is the largest producer of sugarcane in the world, and in Africa, we have South Africa. So here is sugarcane plantation, and there you go, you have sugarcane ready for consumption, and this is further processed into sugar crystals that we use for various purposes. Now, cotton is another crop that is grown under plantation, and the largest producers of cotton in the world are the Indians. India is the largest producer, and in Africa, we have Mali. So here is a cotton plantation. This is how it looks like, and there you go. This is a farmer harvesting cotton. Now, let me take you straight into the ECZ exam past paper questions. I want you to pay particular attention in understanding the map that we have here. So we have area A here on the map, then we have B here, and we have area C here. Now, question 5 says, the country in area A, this area here, the country in area A with let me repeat that. The country in area A with the highest coffee production is, remember what we said? In this area, if you look at the options here, the best possible answer is Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast in this area. Let's get to question 6. In area A, which country is the largest producer of cocoa? The country with the largest producer of cocoa, from the options we have Congo, we have Nigeria, we have Ghana, and we have Mali. Remember, we said Ghana and Ivory Coast are the largest producers of cocoa in the entire world. So the best possible answer here is Ghana. Let's move to the 2013 extract, the past paper from the year 2013. It says the diagram shows the production of a cash crop by 6 main producers in the world. So the highest here, as you're able to see, is Ivory Coast, then Ghana, Brazil, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ecuador. To which one of the following crops does this apply? Is it cocoa? Is it coffee? Is it rubber? Is it sugarcane? Remember, we said Ivory Coast and Ghana are the largest producers of what? Cocoa. So the best possible answer here is cocoa, which is A. Next question. The following advantages of plantation or estate farming except increase in local employment, which is correct. This is an advantage. Large-scale production of cash crops. We made mention to say plantation farming focuses on production of cash crops. Production of staple food crops, this is incorrect. We made mention to say plantation farming does not focus on production of food crops. Instead, it focuses on production of cash crops. Provision of schools, health services, and water supply, this is yes. This is correct for plantations because these facilities are needed for the workers on the plantations. So if you look at these options, the question says the following are advantages of plantation or estate farming except, so the best possible answer here is C, production of staple food crops. Next question. Once the crop is harvested, the pods are split open, the beans are separated from the pulp, fermented, dried, packed, and exported. The crop being referred to above is, this is basically what I talked about. So the best possible answer is A here, which is cocoa. Next question. Which type of farming is largely associated with production of sugarcane, rubber, and coffee? Intensive farming, plantation farming, semi-permanent cultivation, shifting cultivation. So the best possible answer here is A, which is, I beg your pardon, the best possible answer here is B, which is plantation farming. We made mention to say sugarcane, rubber, coffee, cocoa, all those crops are crops grown under plantation farming. So our answer on question 40 is B, which is plantation farming. I would like to thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next lesson.